and welcome to the next episode of DDR, a podcast all about your favorite Drow, Drizzt Do'Urden. My name is Justin, and in this episode, we'll be diving deep into Chapter 29 of Homeland. That is the last chapter of Homeland, titled Alone, discussing all of our favorite plot points, characters, and more.
My name is Jeffrey, and this is where I explain to you that as fans of D&D 5e, we're going to take a deep look into this, the final chapter of Homeland, and hopefully find a few nuggets that relate to our favorite role-playing game.
Following along with the show is easy. Just grab a copy of the book, read the next chapter, and tune in every week. But we're finishing up Chapter 1 here, so start thinking about getting... Book 1, rather. So start thinking about getting into Book 2. And then, once we air the next episode is going to be in Book 2, then you can tune in and listen to what we have to say about it. But remember, we want to hear your thoughts, too. You can share those with us at drizztdoneright@gmail.com.
Or, better yet, be part of the ongoing discussion on our very own Drizzt Done Right Discord. The Discord invitation is linked in the podcast description. We've just welcomed a few new Dim Light Squad members recently, so let's give a heartfelt welcome to Kick275, Tom, and Twisted Star. Hello, welcome.
Hey guys.
We appreciate you taking the time to venture into the Underdark with us and hope that you enjoy the show. As a reminder, we're going to be taking some time off between Book 1 and 2, going to get some things ready, and we'd like to put together a D&D one-shot campaign with our listeners. That's you. It's free, and we have a prize, so you got to do this, right? To sign up, you got to join the Discord. Look for the channel inside that says D&D Tournament. You'll see it. It's right there. You got to join that and put your name in order to be eligible. Justin, right. For the last time for this book, how you been?
I was like, for the last time? Are we not doing Book 2?
Oh, we're doing Book 2, sir.
We're going to be doing Book 2. Don't worry about that. No, I'm doing well. Work is work, but I just found out my schedule for the rest of the year, and so I'll be moving into a shift schedule very soon.
Nice.
And then, there's like, it's really hard to explain, but every 5 weeks, I get 7 days off.
Okay.
It's really cool. At least, I could pick up overtime and whatnot during that time. But it's built into the schedule that I have a consecutive 7 days off every 5 weeks, which is really nice. So Sarah and I have just been looking into possible long weekend things that we can do.
Heck yeah.
And so we just booked a Verbo down in West Virginia, a cabin up in the hills. And it looks beautiful. I want to go now.
Nice. It's got some beautiful locations out there. One of my co-workers, one of the guys from the farm that I work with is I can't remember the name of the place, but he's in Virginia, out at the beach, sitting there, feet up on the sand. And I was talking to him about the deliveries and stuff we do, like blah blah blah. And he sends me a picture, and I was like, you know what? Enough shop talk, buddy. You just enjoy that view, soak it up, have a great time.
Yeah, it's like, why are you even bother talking to me right now?
Well, he started it. He texted me, but you know what? Doesn't matter.
He just wanted to brag and show off where he was.
Right?
That's awesome. Well, Jeffrey, I know it's been really hot down in Maryland. It's really hot up here. Farm life going all right with all this heat?
Oh yeah. I'm not out in the field, so I don't do a whole lot of the picking yet. One of the things that I'm going to work my way into helping out eventually. But doing deliveries and stuff, it's just in and out the van. It's not that bad. Keep the air conditioner cranked up. They got a nice little fan. It's not one of the it's not like when you think about a farm van. I guess I have a rustic image in my mind.
Right.
Quick segues, like back in boot camp, they transported us everywhere in cattle cars, right? Like, for those who don't know, a cattle car is that thing you pass on the road that's about, let's say, 20 feet, 30 feet long, and it's got slats that the cattle can see through to let it breathe. So I went to Missouri in the middle of summer, and that is a thick, hot state. But it's not just heat. I mean, it's oppressive. Put a blanket on your face and try to breathe heat. And we had one bus that would show up when we went to long treks that they would put us out in, that would show up, and it looked like a tourist van, right? You had the air conditioning, the lights. So that was the one you were like, oh, come on, lottery. My boot camp drill instructor was a big red one that is an infantry guy, right? So he
Okay.
would always put us on the other end of the formation when it comes up. He's like, no way in hell are we getting on that bus. And it's like, you know why we're never getting on that bus? Because the first time you ride that bus, you're always going to want to ride that bus. So we'll ride in a cattle truck. It's like,
Well,
yep. It's like, you know what? If you're
that's a
out
good
in that
point.
heat
That's a
all
good
day
point.
long, the last thing you want to do is get into the beautiful amenities of, ooh, cold air conditioning. Oh, this is great. And then get back out in the heat and spend the rest of the day there. Like, you know what? Once you get
Right.
acclimated, stay there.
Yep. That's a good point. I mean, no, that makes a lot of sense. But oh man, it feels so good to get back into the air conditioning after being in my car, which
yeah.
does not have air conditioning.
Bro, I don't know how people lived without central air. Like, oh goodness.
know.
I remember
I don't know.
in a row home, we used to have the big box units. You know, you get the AC units you put in the window.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta
Yep.
drill in to support it because they're so big and dumbly heavy.
Right.
And, oh man, central air is just so much nicer. You put the little button and the whole house gets, you know, about the same temperature.
Right. I mean, yeah, depending on your house. I know our old house was like the downstairs would get really cold and the upstairs could not. You just could not cool
That's
it
the
down.
beautiful, for those of you who are looking at the YouTube podcast live, this white wall behind me, this is my basement. We are subterranean. So
Nice.
keep it upstairs at about like 75, 78 during the day. Spend my time downstairs in the basement where I have the living room and everything else down here. And it's just, it's chill.
You're living in the Underdark there, Jeffrey.
Yeah, well, you know, with lights, because my infravision is horrible. My regular vision is horrible. I got some thick old glasses here. So, but yeah, I'm basically in a well-furnished wine cellar with no wine.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
It's a little sad
No
when I
wine?
put it that way.
But why is all the wine gone?
Well, because I got all my complaints out before we started this episode.
Nice. Speaking of this episode, Jeffrey, you ready to dive on in here?
I am ready to kick this baby off. Let's light the firework and see where it goes. So, we're going to kick it off with the Drizzt. What is that? Oh, well, hold on. Let me allow you. If you got to this part of our show without realizing, the part of the show where we take a look at this week's chapter and give you the Drizzt of it. So we pick up this chapter right where the last one left off. The battle has come to its conclusion, and Drizzt is walking through the aftermath. Despite his beliefs, he found himself trapped in that vicious cycle of violence, killing Drow. And he made a vow to himself that he's not going to do this anymore. I think he's made that vow before, but you get the feeling this time he's going to try and make it stick.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see, because he didn't want to kill Masaj and Alton.
Nope.
They tried to kill him, so it was like, you know, he's going to defend himself, though, right? But, I don't know.
Well, I mean, Menzo Berenson is not the kind of place that you can keep a promise like that. But, you know, he did his best to push those thoughts aside. Because in the Underdark, the daytime, it can be more dangerous than the nighttime. So he had to keep his thoughts on guard. He wasn't going to get caught like he did with that cave fisher.
Right.
Drizzt made his way back to House Do'Urden with stealth that surprised even the house guards as he made his way to Zaknafeyn's private quarters. He stood outside, consumed with his thoughts of what to do next. I mean, would Zak listen to him? Only one way to find out. But when he pushed through the doors, he was assaulted by an absence that went beyond silence. Something was wrong. Zak's sword belt was still in the room, and he had heard this 1,000 times. Keep it ever at your side. A quick inspection ruled out assassins. Yet Drizzt continued onward to find his answers. Perhaps his family knew more. He made his way to the chapel room, and everything was just too silent. He pushed inside and saw Malice sitting on her throne, smiling this weird, smirky grin. Mm-hmm. The whole family was there. The whole family. Except for Zak. Malice began to question him, but Drizzt wanted answers. Briza, she suddenly went to reprimand him, but his stare stopped her in her tracks. Malice explained their situation, the war with House Hanet, the need for obedience, the weight of responsibility and duty. Where is Zaknafeyn? Briza went for the whip, but Malice knew that this needed tact, a softer hand that was needed, so she told Drizzt that to put Zak out of his mind. Even now, he works for House Do'Urden as we speak. Drizzt pushed forward despite the caution from Malice, explaining that he delivered the first blows in the war against House Hunnet. He revealed the true identity of the Faceless One, and Dinan let his rage show through at this deception. But Malice cackled in delight at House Hunnet losing not one, but 2 wizards.
Yeah.
Basically paving the way for House Do'Urden to move into the position of the 8th house.
Right, because now they know, like, what does she say? She says, after losing 2 wizards, they're probably not going to attack at this point.
Yep, they might as well just take their ball and go home.
So, hey, while they're retreating, let's go after them. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense from her perspective, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the best time to catch them, right? When they're not looking because their back's to you while they're retreating.
Right.
Now, Drizzt, he still just wanted to know where Zack was. And again, he's met by a silence that's heavier than just the loss of words. You are the weapons master of House Do'Urden now. Lolth has forgiven you, Major Malice said. You killed him, he whispered. You killed him, Malice replied. Your insolence demanded repayment to the Spider Queen. Drizzt confronted with the evil of his family, the evil of the Drow, the evil of Lolth, and it was just overwhelming. I mean, Malice spat at him. Zaknafein went willingly to the altar for your sake. The words stung Drizzt for a moment, but he would not carry the guilt. He had stayed true to himself. She offered them the position of weapons master once again, tried to appeal to his ego, but he laughed aloud at the irony of her words. You underestimate Malice, Breeza quipped from the corner, but no one really paid attention.
Yeah.
Your skin is as dark as mine, Malice reminded him. You are Drow, though you have never learned what that means. Drizzt growled back his rejection of the filthy Spider Queen. Breeza went to reprimand him for his insolence, but Drizzt had a surprise round coming for him and was the first to move. And when the trick that Zaknafein had used on him all that time ago wore off, he was gone. Drizzt found himself later alone, except for the presence of his faithful companion. How many others are like me, I wonder, he whispered. He couldn't shake off the feeling that this city would never be his home. How many Drow were trapped, doomed like Zack? Drizzt stepped into the tunnel with Guinevere and left the city behind.
Great summary there, Jeffrey. So, my first time through reading this chapter, because I read it probably 3 times, I was left a little disappointed.
Oh, man. I was all like, just full of emotion.
Well, there was that, but
Okay.
there was also just like, well, hold on, the whole House Hunnet thing. Like, what's gonna happen here? And so, like, yeah, I guess that's book 2.
Well, Justin, this is a trilogy, and that is what they call a cliffhanger, buddy.
And I know, but
amazingly, the fact that you're sitting there feeling like a little left out and it's like slightly dejected, it like proves how well R.A. Salvatore is able to sink that hook like right into your cheek and be like, "Oh,
totally.
See you in book 2, buddy."
Exactly. That's where I'm at, because I'm just like, no, I need to see that. I need to see what happens next with that whole situation. It's like, okay, I'll read the next book. But I mean, there was never any question that, like, I was always going to move on to the next book.
Oh, yeah. No, and, like, I've already started planning and plotting out a little bit. I'm not too far into the book. But okay. That's what really caught me was, like, it's the transition as this story goes. You can tell he set out to write a trilogy. He didn't just write one book and then go, oh, man, where am I going to go with this? Like, he is very good, let's say at least early on, because, I don't want to speak for the other 30-some books, at setting that table for, like, where you're going to go. And, I mean, I, as well, have a whetted appetite for moving forward.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I can't wait to actually move on to that. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about our favorite parts of this chapter in the section of the show we call the Dim Light Reel. The Dim Light Reel, it's where we cast darkness on our favorite parts of the chapter and dim light all of our favorite characters, events, descriptions, and more. And let's see, my dim light is, it's after Drizzt's battle with Massage and Alton. Drizzt starts running for home to find Zack, to basically take Zack and run away with him, right? And the fact that we know the fate of the weapons master while Drizzt does not was just heart-wrenching. And that whole idea is really my dim light for this week. Drizzt makes his way through his eerily silent home, the Do'Urden compound, and makes his way all the way to the gym door, where he pauses with his hand on the handle of the stone door. Within this moment, Drizzt is wondering how he could ever convince Zack to run away. I mean, just there's no way. There's no way. He's lived hundreds of years here. Kind of he's made his niche in Drow society, right? He's not partaking in a lot of it, but has reasoned his existence, or his reasoning is basically like, I exist here to kill the clerics of Lolth, and that's
I don't want to say he's given up, but I think he's more like resigned to his fate.
That resigned, I guess, is the word I was looking for, not reasoned, but yeah, he's resigned to it. So yeah, he's wondering how he would ever be able to convince Zack to run away with him. So what argument will he make? Like, what is he gonna do? So surely Zack would not come easily. So, but what's the point? There's no point in arguing with himself. So he might as well argue with Zack. So he goes through the door. He opens the door, but something isn't right. Sure, the rest of the compound was empty, so it makes sense that Zack isn't in the gym. Okay, no surprise, but it felt especially empty here. Not only did Drizzt recognize that Zack was physically absent, there was a more significant absence that Drizzt sensed. And I like the way that you put it before in the Drizzt. Drizzt sprinted for Zack's personal quarters, past the gym, through the gym, only to see he wasn't there either. But what was more concerning, the weapons master's sword and belt were left here, meaning that they weren't with Zack. And like you said, Zack told Drizzt thousands of times over the past number of years that he should never be without his weapons at his side.
No, it's weirdly such an ominous moment, because Zack is, what was his title? He's the weapons master, right?
Weapons master, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, is it completely out of the realm of possibility that maybe he just took one of the other thousands of weapons that he's got in the other room?
Oh, that's a good
It's the fact that, like, that's his sword belt. That's his, chosen instrument of destruction or defense, let's say. And it's there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's it. And it's so ominous in that moment. Like, even though what, maybe he just decided to take a halberd out and he was just running around Menzel Barons and chopping up bad Drow with a halberd. No. I mean, he still would have had that sword belt and his weapons attached.
Right.
So it's like he probably would have gone out with his swords and the halberd, but never without those swords.
Yeah. It's pretty significant that he left his weapons there. And, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, and he, almost missed it, too. Drizzt, he was like, oh, well, I'll go look somewhere else. And he, turns around to leave, and then, it catches his eye, and it's like, ooh. But, yeah, how different would this chapter have been if he didn't notice that?
Just walks on out and gets blindsided by everything on top of it.
Right,
he definitely adds to his feeling of, unease.
Yeah. So anyway, he saw the sword belt and the swords there, and I just imagine that Drizzt just froze in time there and just went through a series of flashbacks of Zack reminding Drizzt of this lesson, never leave, never be caught without your weapons at your side. The first one of these flashback lessons would have been in conjunction with a slap from the flat edge of Zack's sword. Perhaps the last few lessons would have been met with a smile or a friendly punch to the shoulder from Zack, as their relationship was,
I make
before
a
he
face
went to the academy. I mean,
because I'm friendly punch, I still feel would hurt me. He's such a tough dude. I feel like he'd playfully slap me, and I'd be like, come on, Zack, stop.
So this whole scene of Drizzt trying to piece together this mystery of what has happened to Zack, like I said before, was just so heart-wrenching. So as a reader, we saw the scene of Zack being sacrificed back in chapter 27. We know what Drizzt will inevitably find out. We know the outcome of this, but it's like watching a train wreck. You cannot look away. You know what's coming. And this is just such a sad part of.
I have first-handedly seen a train wreck and could tell you that I had run the other way and could not watch it because I was running.
I guess if you're like in danger of things happening, like, yeah, you're gonna get to a safer spot. But still, like, if you know that you're standing far enough away,
right,
it's safe for you to watch it. Like, you can't not watch it, right? So yeah, it was just such a sad part to read. But yeah, I picked this as my dim light because I wanted to talk a little more in depth about this scene. Two specific things I wanted to ask you.
42.
So like I said,
answer to everything. Sold.
You know, that's another book I really want to get back into. Read that one. That's a different podcast. So chapter 27 was the chapter where Zaknafein is awoken by the Daughters of Malice. Totally going to bring that back. And later sacrificed to Lolth. So, Jeffrey, how do you think chapter 29, this chapter, would have read if chapter 27 was completely omitted from the book?
Oh, that's interesting. Because, I mean, I think one of the most heart-wrenching things you have is that this entire chapter, you know what Drizzt is going to find out. So, like, that foreknowledge really hits in the heart, right? But if you were to just see this through the eyes of Drizzt, you would have known something was wrong because of the sword belt, just like he did.
Right.
And then I feel like when Matron Malice dropped that truth bomb on him, that it really would have staggered you as a reader. Because, I mean, you would have maybe tried to piece it together, but
and that's the thing. Like, it would have been like slowly piecing things together for you because, and like, pushing you in that direction because throughout the whole scene with Malice, Drizzt is asking, like, where's Zach? Where's Zach? And she's just like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And it's just,
I dare say I would have been far more gullible reading it. Like, oh, okay, so what is he doing? I mean, what, did he have to go, like, maybe on a spy assassin mission where he couldn't use his belts and had to stealth at her? I'm like, where would he? So that's what I'm saying. When she's like, oh, and he's like, you killed him, I'd have been like, no.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I don't want to say that Salvatore wrote the book incorrectly. Okay? I'm not trying to say that.
Mr. Salvatore, please send that mail directly to Justin. Jeffrey has nothing to do with that point of view.
But I feel like taking it that direction would have just, would have really made it just kind of like a big reveal, just like, whoa, which would have been pretty cool. But I do have another question here. My next question also has to do with chapter 27. Because, you know, after finishing this book, I might feel like I have all the answers.
Yeah.
Right? I might feel like I have all the answers. But we never actually saw that dagger come down and stab Zaknafein.
True.
Okay? So I know you've been reading the second book already, like you were saying, so no spoilers. Especially for our listeners who maybe have not read these books before. But if you can remember what was going on in your mind before you started book 2, do you think that Zaknafein made it out?
No.
Like, made it out alive? Or
nope.
You think that
they ended up... I completely took it... So Game of Thrones really changed this on me. Right? But I completely took it for he's dead. He's dead and gone. Now, Game of Thrones taught me while I watched it so many times, until you see that person get put to death, always be wary they may show up again. But no, I completely took it because I didn't realize they don't show you the death because they talk about it so, not in depth, but so well as they lead you through the procession of his sacrifice. And knowing that Matron Malice is dead set on regaining the favor of Lolth no matter what. No, absolutely he's dead. I mean, how's he going to get out of it? They've tied him to the altar. Right. They got everything going. You know, it's like what his last shot in the dark, or technically absolutely shot in the dark, would have been the Hail Mary to Vienna, but she's like, take your lies to the grave. Like, well, like what if a team of gnomes just like burst through the door and save him or something? I mean, you know what? It could happen. It could happen. But I feel like, that would be like when you're watching a movie and you go to the sequel and you're like, wait, the gnome. Like, what is it, Jurassic Park 3, where suddenly the military shows up at the end of it and everything's okay. And you're like, huh? That's a really quick
Right.
way to tie that plot
Yeah.
together. But no, like I said, I completely walked right on through it
Yeah.
thinking, okay, yep, sure, he's dead. And then, like,
Yep.
when Drizzt just walks off into the sunset, like, I was befuddled. I didn't know where he was going to go. I have no idea what's next for Drizzt. The only reason I even knew that there was going to be more books, besides the fact that I bought it as a trilogy, like all 3 books
Right.
in one, was the fact that I started in Icewind Dale. So I knew Drizzt had to be somewhere else. So it's like,
Yep.
okay. Because, like, for me, this could have been a standalone book where he just walks off into the sunset, him and his faithful companion, Guinevere, never to be seen again,
Totally.
out there just in your mind, living their best life, staying true to themselves, having each other. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for putting up for a few questions there. I know I didn't warn you about it. So.
Oh, that's okay. You wait until our outro. I got one for you, buddy.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm excited.
That was a beautiful dim light. I liked it a lot. And it's funny because it seems like, your dim light worked out as like the first part of this chapter. And my dim light, it's going to be the back half of this chapter.
Okay.
It's not the biggest part of the chapter, but it hit me like an emotional sledgehammer. And, I think it's a great way to end the book. Mine is called Drizzt Says Goodbye. So Drizzt has finally realized the truth of the situation with Zaknafein, of his family, of this city, and its inhabitants. A true goddamn you all, he cried as he slammed the ball to the stone floor. He snapped
that line.
Right? He snapped his eyes shut as the pebble within the ball, enchanted by a powerful light emanating Dwemer, exploded into the room and erupted into his kin's sensitive eyes. And damn that Spider Queen as well. Malice fell backwards. This made me chuckle because I just picture her little feet like fluttering in the air, like, ah! the throne following her as she crashed. Cries of agony and rage came from every corner as the light bored into the stunned Drow. Finally, Vierna cast a counterspell and Malice growled, "Get him! I want him dead!" She was still shaking off that heavy fall, but Drizzt was already out of the house. I thought this was a beautiful way to pay homage to Zaknafein, like a callback to the earlier parts of this book when Zaknafein used it to surprise the talented young warrior. We now see Drizzt use it to escape the situation that Zaknafein could never find his way out of, giving him a chance to actually answer Zaknafein's prayer to survive, to beat them all.
Mm-hmm.
We switch to the astral planes as a call comes on silent winds. The entity of the panther stood up, ignoring its pain, and took note of the familiar, comforting voice. The cat was off then, running with all its heart and strength to answer the summons of its new master. This made the hair on my neck stand up a little bit. Drizzt and Guinevere, they share a special bond, and to see it from her point of view is like a cinematic moment when you see the couple running down the beach in slow motion until they're united again.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
A short while later, Drizzt crept out of a little tunnel, Guinevere at his side, and he moved through the courtyard of the academy to look down upon Menzo Berenzon for the last time. "What place is this," he asked the cat quietly, "that I call home? These are my people, by skin and by heritage, but I am no kin to them. They are lost and ever will be." "How many others are like me, I wonder?" Drizzt whispered, taking one final look. "Doomed souls, as was Zaknafein. Poor Zak. I do this for him, Guinevere. I leave as he could not. His life has been my lesson. A dark scroll, etched by the heavy price exacted by Matron Malice's evil promises." "Goodbye, Zak," he cried, his voice rising in final defiance. "My father, take heart, as do I, that when we meet again in a life after this, it will surely not be in the hellfire our kin are doomed to endure." His final words of the book, they just hit me like a gong. I couldn't imagine a better way to bring everything full circle. We waited for so long for Drizzt and Zak to finally get together and talk, especially you. And to find that common ground, and as soon as they do, they're separated from each other. Zach Nafane gave his life so that Drizzt could succeed, and we see Drizzt dead set on making that dream a reality.
Yeah. So the one thing that gave me the chills in this was when Drizzt says, "What place is this?" Do you remember where that was said before, or who said that?
No.
I think Zach said it back in chapter, or maybe it was Drizzt. Shoot, I should have looked it up. Toward the beginning of the book, in one of their melancholy moments where they're looking out over Menzoberranzan.
Oh, I bet you it's in one of the parts where Drizzt has the monologues beforehand. That would be my best guess.
Perhaps. Hey, if you're listening to this, let us know in the Discord if you if you can find it before us. But I'm gonna
earmark
look
it
up
and
soon
send
after
it.
this. But I'm pretty sure it was Zach Nafane. But now part of me is saying no, that was Drizzt. So I don't know. But let us know. Awesome. Well, Jeffrey, last night we had a chance to get our group together and play D&D for the first time in quite a while. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love playing Dungeons and Dragons. Let's go ahead and see what we can link this chapter to our favorite tabletop game. The Dungeon Delve. It's the part of the show where we link this chapter with our favorite tabletop RPG. All right, so I feel like I already talked about this on a previous episode, but being the last episode of Season 1 of this podcast, I thought it would be a valuable thing to bring up again. So, yeah.
Don't split the... Oh, no, that's not it.
Well, don't... That's some good advice. But in this chapter, we have Drizzt and Matron Malice frolicking through a pleasant conversation, right? Malice reminds...
That's an excellent way of putting that. I like that.
Malice reminds Drizzt that he is a Drow and that he needs to learn what that means. Drizzt replies, "Oh, I know what it means." A response that has just a touch of sass added in there. Of course he knows what it means. That's the problem. He isn't on board with being a Drow. All right? At least not how Drow society in Menzoberranzan is, right? So anyway, Matron Malice responds to that by saying, "Then act by the rules." To which Drizzt yells back, "Your rules?" When I read this, I couldn't help but be reminded how some D&D groups can get into some verbal matches with each other, like in real life, because people have different expectations of how the game should go when they sit around the table.
I should have read your intro before I picked mine, because honestly, when you said that, I was like, I could have covered multi-classing, because of course he doesn't want to be a Drow. He wants to be something else. I was like, nope, that's not where I went. Stay tuned. Go ahead.
So some people might be there to play the game to swing their swords, kill the bad guys, and collect that sweet, sweet experience, right? Others are there to see if they're able to talk their way through every situation. Some people like to make characters of specific races and classes to max out their ability scores. Others like to make characters with quirky personality traits that have that can really hinder the party dynamics. So there are so many ways that you can play Dungeons and Dragons. That's one of the huge draws to the game. You can make it whatever you want. There are no wrong ways, really, of playing the game.
I literally just ran into this with the group that I'm DMing for, because I'm playing the Horde of the Dragon Queen, right? And
cool.
I enter the town, you go through, you meet the mayor, blah, 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 blah. He sends you out on a quest. Well, my one guy, he took offense to the mayor because he was like, "Do you have a Temple of Selena?" And I'm DMing, so off the top of my head, Selena, I don't know who he means. So I'm thinking it's the governor. I was like, no. The guy's like, "Why not?" I was like, "Because your god is inferior." Now, I did not take that into account. And he got mad, so he starts running around and like sabotaging the town, painting that the mayor brought the dragon in spots so that the townsfolk will find it. Everybody he could run into, he's blaming the mayor for it. And I was like, you know what? I'm sold. When he comes back, there's going to be a violent overthrow of the mayor. They're going to erect a temple to the person he wants. I'm going to write this all up so that when they come back into town, it's just going to change everything. I think that's fantastic. It can, like, this game can literally go anywhere you have the imagination to take it.
Totally. But your group dynamics are going well. Everyone's playing well with each other. No one's like,
yeah. So far, nobody has tried to randomly kill another wood elf because they didn't sleep inside of a tree. Nope.
Nice. Because we've had that a number of times. Yeah. So I say we've had that a number of times. I've also heard of a number of groups that have had just that one player in the group that didn't play well with the others, and yeah, at some point there were conflicting expectations of what the game was for their group. So my advice to those people is always, do you guys sit down and just talk about it? Talk about what you want as a group, how you guys want to play. For some groups, it's a very necessary thing to do, especially if you have like strangers in a group, people that don't know each other. Right?
Session 0 is just, it's, you need one.
Right. You do. Yeah. And so like the group that we have, I mean, you guys didn't know each other like starting out. Like
nope.
I brought basically just like, a bunch of people that I knew. I'm just like, hey, come play. It'll be fun. And over the years, you guys have, become friends to the point where we know how we all like to play.
Yep. Actually, I have changed how I like to play because I was the first person you mentioned. I love to go in and dungeon crawl. I like loot. I like XP. Right. Let's kill us some bad guys. Yeah. And as I've progressed, I'm like, oh no, I want to create a quirky character. I want to find workarounds. Right. I want to be able to unlock puzzles with the wrong key. Yeah.
Right. Which you guys do all the time. So yeah, you mentioned like session 0 is very key, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, this is probably just yet another extra responsibility for a DM, right?
I think though it really does make the DM's job easier because you should
in the
know
long run
what your group expects, from you. Otherwise, you're gonna have to kill them.
Well, yeah, it's totally worth that extra time too. So our group has been playing off and on for about 3 years now. Were there, did we ever have times of disagreement? Sure.
Did we have a character show up with the severed toe of another character and wearing it in a chain around their neck? Yes, we did.
And both of those players still play with each other. So it's, we always come back. And I believe this is because we do have an understanding of how we like to play as a group. So for us, we generally like to stick to the rules as written, but I very much incorporate that whole rule of cool, right? So if someone comes up with something that they want to try to do that no one else no one knows how to handle it, right? Like we don't know what the rule is on this specific thing because it's such an outrageous thing that it's not written in any of the books. So we just kind of come up with a way to make it work, right? The rule of cool gives the players a chance to really shine within the story and make things really fun. So, I mean, that works for our group. What works for ours might not work for other groups and vice versa. I guess all I'm really trying to say is don't be like Malice, yelling, act by the rules! Because she obviously was playing by different rules than Drizzt was. So, it makes for awkward situations. If you notice something like this happening within your group, talk about it, okay? Like, bring it up. Hey, that makes me a little uncomfortable or whatever. Like, that's perfectly fine. So, anyway, I really just wanted to leave season 1 here with some encouraging advice here, an encouraging dungeon delve. So, I mean, there you go.
I'm laughing because I know where I'm going with my dungeon delve.
Oh no.
I'd like to talk about ritual sacrifice.
Oh boy, that's encouraging.
My dungeon delve is ritual sacrifice. We saw Zachnafane go through the process of being sacrificed.
At least the start of the process, Jeffrey.
True. We didn't see him end it. But, giving himself so that his son could live. And it made me wonder, does D&D 5e allow for sacrifice? How would it work? I didn't find anything specific in the D&D rule books. But one answer I found...
Rule of cool, Jeffrey. Rule of cool.
I don't know if you can call human sacrifice cool. But I found a hilarious answer on Reddit. Someone asked, is there a spell that allows you to sacrifice yourself to save the party? And sure enough, giving me faith in humanity, someone replied with, yes. The command phrase is, run, I'll guard the rear. And you just stay blocking everything to let your party escape. So that wasn't quite what I was looking for. So
right.
I did some more digging because I'm here for you guys. Thankfully, D&D Wiki was there for me. I came across a homebrew called Ritual Sacrifice.
Okay.
You are a learned practitioner of the controversial tradition of ritual sacrifice. Properly performing a ritual sacrifice requires a living creature that is incapacitated, willing, or helpless, as well as 1 minute of uninterrupted concentration. Once you complete a ritual sacrifice, you may bless a number of creatures within 30 feet of you equal to your proficiency bonus. A blessed creature gains your choice of the following benefits. The creature gains 1d6 plus 6 of temporary hit points. These temporary hit points last for 1 hour, or whenever the creature makes an attack roll or a saving throw, the target can roll a d6 and add the number rolled to the attack roll or the saving throw. This effect lasts for an hour or until the creature uses it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, whichever comes first. Now, once... Go ahead.
Well, so it's only a 1 hour, huh?
Mm-hmm. We're going to get into that.
Okay.
So once you have used this feat, you cannot use it again until you finish a long rest. So, couple of things here. I feel like sacrificing a creature or a character should really gain you more than just a bonus of a d6 equal to my proficiency bonus. Now, it does say that you can give it to any number of creatures within 30 feet of you. That's also equal to your bonus. Yeah. So, you can get a small kill squad together, help out the whole party. I get that. But Zagnafane dies so that House Do'Urden can get back in the good favor of Lolth, which seems a bit more important than just a few temporary hit points or a small bonus to attack or saving rolls for an hour.
True. That's almost like saying like you have your party and they have a reputation with a town that's pretty negative. Mm-hmm. But hey, like if we maybe this is even Zagnafane sacrifices even more so, but it's like the group is just like, hey, the rogue did all this. Like if we sacrifice the rogue, can our reputation in town be a little better?
Yeah,
be viewed more as heroes, or
to me a more interesting use. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I actually did read a response where one of their characters died, and the other character was a warlock tiefling, so they had dual pacts, one for the good side, one for the bad side. They would roll a die every day to decide if their evil side comes out to play or their good side. Now, when they'd been playing together for years, and they grew very attached to each other as far as out of character people. So this person who died was the first time they had played their character, so they got really emotional about losing their character. So wouldn't you know, the tiefling, the no good, dirty tiefling, decides to whisper to the DM and says, "Can I forgo my pact of evil," which was his preferred one, to save the character? And he said, the DM goes, "I don't know. You're going to have to roll for it," right? So he rolls a check and an insight, and he rolls really low. So the guy goes, "You can try." And the character replies with, "Blind faith. Got it. Love it. Let's do it." So, they go through, the whole story breaks down, and he ends up basically just, cutting out his own pact, sacrificing his favorite part of his character to bring the other character back to life. And it was like, wow, man, like, D&D can sometimes have some really swell and wholesome moments. Not the same kind of sacrifice I'm talking about here, but again, just a different variation.
Yeah, but that's cool.
To me, I would think that if you're going to do something like that, you would state that it works for the whole day, right? Instead of just 1 hour. So this way, you know a battle's coming, and you got to go fight the big baddie underneath the dungeon or whatever.
Yeah.
And you open it up for the powers, right? Not only that, I think I'd have to give it a D10 to my saving throw or my attack roll. Not a D6, because a D6 is just like inspiration or luck, right? Both of them are a D6 add-on.
Bardic inspiration, I think.
Yes, that's it.
Well,
Bardic inspiration.
it depends on the level of the bard, but yeah.
So I think you'd have to get like a D10, just because, again, it's the magnanimous... Oh, that's the wrong word. It's the gravitas of the moment that you've literally sacrificed a life form. And a D6 that I can get off of a cantrip or spell, it's not doing it for me. I'd have to give it a D10.
Yeah, I would say so too.
So, this would at least make sense to me in the idea that, like I said, you could sacrifice the being before going to war with House Annette to gain the edge, because you would know we're attacking on this day. I do think, the D10 individually or a D6 to the entire group or party would make sense as well. Not limited, again, by the proficiency bonus, that these would just be supercharged warriors, because a D6 sounds like, ooh, that's OP. I can tell you, you will roll 1 and 2 far more often than you want to.
Yes.
Not going to say that I tried to slide across ice last night, really, really cool with my character, like a surfboard, and rolled a nat 1 and then ended up sliding into a refuse pile and alerting the ogres in the room next door that we were there. But stuff like that will happen. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not advocate sacrificing any member of the party. I don't even advocate for sacrificing bad guys, NPCs. Look, just stay away from sacrifice. It's a slippery slope. That being said, if you were going to do it, what rules would you add? How do you think it should play out? Send us an email to drizzdoneright@gmail.com and let us mull over your choices for sacrifice while we're getting ready for book 2. Or, you know what? Join the Dim Light Squad. Get in that Discord. Let us hash it out in there and see where we go. Justin, do you have anything inside of like the sacrifice and how you would see it really like achieving that like hallowed status? Where, like, to me, again, this isn't just like, oh, it's a level 5 spell. Like, this should be something that has just enormous impact.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to think of here. Like, the way I look at it is, if you actually convince a party member to sacrifice their character,
like no takesy backsies, no revive, no resurrect, none of that.
I'm almost thinking there should be something a little more permanent. Know what I mean? Like, like a permanent,
especially if it's a party member, right? Yeah,
right. Like something where it's like you don't even have to roll, but it's like a permanent +2 blessing or something like that.
That being said, you would have to limit the people in the party who have already rolled out 30 characters and are just going to start sacrificing ones they don't like.
Right, of course, yeah. And what's the other side of it is, I'm just like, okay, well, how is sacrificing any different than killing the bad guy and getting the XP?
Oh.
Right?
That's a good moral quandary, yeah.
So it's like, you just kill your party member and get the XP, and hey, if you're close enough, then you level up, and that's the sacrifice.
Oh man, that boils it down and really takes away the ceremony of it. Because again,
it does.
I'm thinking like Temple of Doom, where he Kalimas the heart out the guy. Like this is a process. This is something where they're doing it specifically to appease some higher power, some lower power, something, right?
Right.
Like, he didn't just eat the heart. He cast him into the flames and, Kalima. But you're right. I mean, technically, I would run around hacking and slashing goblins and never give a thought as to, like, he's never going to make it to the Goblin Bridge Club tomorrow.
It's not as ritualistic, but it's a sacrifice. You get the experience.
That's true. So what are you saying, like, auto level?
Hey, if you decide to sacrifice the paladin out of the party, like, it's got to be a lot of experience there.
If the paladin chooses to sacrifice another member of the party, all heck is going to break loose.
Yeah, quite literally. Their pact is gone, or their oath is gone. Like,
they become at least an oath breaker at that point.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Paladin. Yeah, it would have to change your character for sure, I think, if you did that. Like,
totally.
we haven't really gotten into like losing alignment or anything like that. Maybe, in the future we will. But I think you'd have to definitely toy with that. Like, your god would be mad if you were can't remember the druidic god of trees. But if you were a life-giving goddess, and then suddenly your practitioner's running around like, stab, 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 I'm going to kill my party. Like, she's not going to be so favorable.
Yeah, they're going to have some issue with that. Oh, man, Jeffrey, here we are. We finished Homeland.
Yep.
We got through our 29th episode. Yep, we're at the end. Man, crazy.
If you feel like that's a lot, let's just put that in context. We finished our 29 episodes of chapters of this book, yet still have over 30 books to go.
I know, right? And, well, here we are, July 8th. We started this at the start of the year. I'm pretty sure we released the first, like, episode 0, 1, and maybe even 2, all at the start of this year. So, man, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. So, yeah, we are now, finishing up season 1 here. So that's going to do it for this episode. I want to thank everyone for listening. Remember that if you like the show, give us a 5-star rating. Make sure you're getting the most out of this podcast. Pick up a copy of the book. Read along with us. If you don't have time to read, consider getting the audiobook. Listen to it during your commute, while you're at work, while you're at the gym, or wherever you are. Whenever you've read the next chapter, let's say the next part, I should say, because in the next season, we're going to read it by parts. We're going to make episodes by parts. So that's 6, 7, even 8 chapters.
Sometimes. Usually I would say it's most likely between 4 to 6 chapters per part. Yep.
Okay. But yeah, read the next part. Shoot us an email at drizztdoneright@gmail.com. Let us know what your favorite part is. Or you can... your favorite part, let us know what your dim lights are. How about that? Or you can log on to the Discord, join in on the ongoing discussion there. Remember, we would love to hear from you.
Holy cow. This is it, folks. We're at the end. Well, I mean, not the end of the show, just the end of the book.
Yep.
So now that we come back for the full circle, Justin, got impromptu questions for you. Hey, buddy, how long are we taking off?
Let's see. I'm going to say probably maybe 4 weeks or so.
Okay, not too bad. I was thinking we might hit a 6-week spot, but 4 weeks or so sounds about good.
Somewhere around there, 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah. I'm finishing up my class at work, and it's been a lot doing that and this podcast.
Which is hilarious, because when we started this, which, by the way, was early December, I did go back and check while you were talking. It's been 8 months. When we set out, you had no idea that in the middle of doing this podcast every week, you were going to get a new job. Also, you were going to get a new job that was working in the power plant and had all these cool responsibilities. So it's totally understandable that not only do we need time to break down the oncoming book, but we also need a little bit of time just to decompress for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, not that this was particularly stressful or anything, but it was just like, life is a lot. Life is a lot right now for me.
8 months. Or 7 months of, once a week, every time. And we've got listeners that have been there since darn near the beginning, just every week with us. And it's been so stinking amazing to have these people interact with us, to send us email.
Yep.
I love it.
It's been great. So, I mean, I would say, hit those notification buttons. And the next time we release an episode, you'll be first to know about it. Also, get on that Discord, and we'll still be active on the Discord, talking about what we're doing, the ideas that we have. Of course, we want to do that one shot. That's all going to happen, hopefully, before Season 2 even starts.
The Discord, we will not be taking time off of. I will be continuing to be probably even more active inside of that, catching up on the creature features, catching up on, interacting with everybody. So, get in the Dim Light Squad. Come on down, people.
Yeah.
So, remember, folks, we are gearing up to go through the next books, plural, at a quicker pace. So we really want or hope that you're going to hang in there with us and continue on this journey. We're excited for where this is going, and we're continuing to grow. Speaking of growth, we do have that link inside the episode description that says support this podcast. If you can find it in your heart to part with some of your hard-earned money, then we'll invest it right back into this show and keep bringing you the shows to help hopefully make your day just a little bit better. Wherever you listen to this show, give us a review, leave comments, like, subscribe, spam those places with this show. This helps the show reach even more people, and the more that we grow, the better the experience gets for all of us. We appreciate you making it this far with us. We can't wait to see you for book 2. And until that time comes to press play on the next episode, I'll leave you with this. Farewell, friends. Play fair. Be well. So long for now.